So our story begins with Henry VIII. Have you heard of Henry VIII before? What was Henry VIII famous for? Lopping the heads off his wives, but also, which this man has a little sly smile on his face. We won't ask you why, but also he split from Rome, didn't he? And he wanted a divorce. The Pope wouldn't give him a divorce, and for that reason he sort of separated from Rome and set up the Anglican Protestant sort of church with himself as the head. Now, when he did that, what language do you think the law and all of the kind of legal system used when we were under Rome? Latin, right? So when Henry VIII says, no more Pope, no more Rome, he then says, instead of that, we're going to now do it in English. Okay, so everyone in the United Kingdom, for all official documentation, the parliaments, all that stuff, English. Which is fine, of course, if you're English. But if you're Welsh, you're kind of like, well, what about us? Like, why we want to speak Welsh, boyo. So there was a bit of a tension there, and that as time went on, the monarchy sort of changed hands, and we get to the time of Queen Elizabeth, and she was a little bit nervous. The troublesome Welsh might be tempted to actually, funnily enough, they were so annoyed with the British or English, head off back to Catholicism. So what she decided was, she said, no, in 1563, she did these acts that kind of overturned some of the stuff that Henry VIII had said. And she says, you can have a Bible in your own language, okay, which was quite a dramatic thing because the Catholic Church wouldn't let it be translated. And now we're at a point of time where the Protestants were like, let's get the Bible out to the people. And her idea, I guess, was people should read the Bible in their own language, in Welsh, and then they'll see that what the Pope's saying and what the Bible's saying, two slightly different things, and she was hoping that they would stay therefore as a Protestant nation as part of the United Kingdom and her monarchy. So that is the sort of the background. What happens then is, have you ever been to this place, Carmarthen County Museum? So that, as you probably know, was owned by the Anglican bishops, I think it was, and it was known as the Bishop's Palace. So all these scholars under this chap called Richard Davies, that's how you spell my last name, so I reckon I was somehow related to him. They get together and they start translating the Bible. And one of the leading scholars there was this guy called William Salisbury. And what we've got here is one of the Bibles that they actually produced. Okay, so this Bible is from 1567. It's not a copy. It's a genuine artifact, relic, if you like, from that time. It's a very rare and ancient Bible. So they produced this, but there's a slight problem. It's only in the New Testament, which they translated from the Greek, and they did it from Carmarthen, so they didn't have access to lots of the original Hebrew and Greek manuscripts. So they did the best they could, and it's apparently a very kind of formal translation. So much so, it's quite hard for common people to kind of read and understand at the time. So that's kind of where we get to with that story. So I've got that 1567, that comes out. But let me tell you another story about a bit of a hero of mine. This guy here, William Morgan. He is a hero of mine for multiple reasons. One is that he's got an amazing beard, which I can only aspire to get to. But the other reason that I think he's amazing is he's a classic sort of slightly rebellious Welsh person, right? And he was a common farm boy. Do you speak Welsh? Can you, what does that say? Tai Mao? I can never say it. Ti Mao? What's that one? Wiberant in Penmachno. And is that that's in North Wales, isn't it? So he's born in North Wales, and back in those days, 15th century, there's only two universities. There's Cambridge, and what's the other one? Oxford, right? So there's only two universities. And it was obviously very rich people sent people there, but I think they granted scholarships, right, for poor, very bright kids. He was a poor, very bright kid from farming community in Wales, and he's super smart. So he eventually can read Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, as well as Welsh, and as well as English. So, pretty smart guy. And he arrives at Cambridge in 1563, which is the same year that Queen Elizabeth passes this act, that you can translate the Bible by law now into Welsh. So, separate although there was probably some communication back and forth, but separate to these people, he decides, like an independent Welshman, to produce not just the New Testament, but now the Old Testament as well, because he can do Hebrew and Greek. And he produces this amazing Bible pretty much single-handedly. I mean, he had probably help, 1588. And the reason he could do that is because at Cambridge at that time was William Tyndale and Miles Coverdale. And these were scholars working on a translation from the earliest kind of known manuscripts of the Hebrew and Greek Bibles and the Textus Receptus and how the Bible basically had been handed down. They had access to those early documents because they were at university. So he also got access through them. This is kind of the sort of documents that they would have been looking at, and translated the Bible, as I say, into Welsh. 1588, he did that. So that was amazing, and then his work was refined. I mean, you've got to imagine, this is how they used to typeset them with the lettering. There's a printing press outside, in fact. And if all the printers were in London, the Queen owned the printing presses. So you can imagine if you were an English typesetter, right? It's hard enough, because it's all backwards as well, right? Because it's a print. It's hard enough kind of figuring out what it would mean in English, but then to have that in Welsh. So William Morgan practically on his own sort of stood by, proofread, made sure that it was as good as it could be. There were still some errors in it, so it was slightly revised. So we've got a revision over here of one of his Bibles. This is from 1620. So it's slightly improved. Now, obviously, the problem with the size of these Bibles, can you imagine taking that on the bus with you? It would not be easy to transport. So as the technology improved of the printing, they managed to get other Bibles as well. So this is called the Little Bible of 1630. So it's a little bit easier to carry around. And that's kind of the first part of our exhibition.